All right, so we're going to switch gears a little bit. Instead of talking about transforming molecules using reactions, we're going to talk about how we see these compounds, right? So molecules and atoms are obviously very tiny. There's no way we can actually see them. So if someone hands you some kind of white powder or a clear colorless liquid and asks you what it is, how do you figure that out, right? In order to figure that out, we need analytical instruments. Right, and by using these instruments, we can figure out what a compound is. And so we'll take a look at a variety of instruments that we use to identify organic compounds. The first one that we'll take a look at is infrared spectroscopy. It gets the capital IR for infrared. And what infrared spectroscopy tells us is what functional groups are present. Right? Do you have an alcohol? Do you have an alkene? Do you have an alkyne? Do you not have those things? That kind of thing. After that, we'll go into mass spectroscopy. And as the name implies, mass spectroscopy tells us the molar mass of a compound. Right? Does it weigh 100 grams per mole, 200 grams per mole, that kind of thing. And then after that, finally, we'll do NMR. And this is going to be kind of the star of the show, and is the star of the show for organic chemistry. Every organic chemistry uses a whole bunch of NMR. And so this tells us about the carbon and hydrogen bonding for the most part. You can have other types of NMR, but what we'll focus on is the carbon and the hydrogen. And then finally, one we won't talk about, but one that is often used is elemental analysis. So you learned about this back in Gen Chem, but this gives us the empirical formula. So for example, maybe something like C2H3, right? Something like that. So using all these analytical instruments, we can determine the structure of our compounds. And of course, we're going to go ahead and start off with IR spectroscopy.